Πάμε. Καλησπέρα. Καλησπέρα σας. Συνεχίζουμε με το τελευταίο πάνελ της δεύτερης μέρας. Η θεματολογία είναι το υδρογόνο, ένα ανερχόμενο θέμα στην Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση και σε όλο τον κόσμο, με πολύ αξιόλογους ομιλητές. Στο πάνελ τον κύριο Κωνσταντίνο
Papalloukas, coordinator of the National Committee of Hydrogen of Greece.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Konstantinos Papalloukas. I'm an energy expert and EastMed specialist. Over the last few years, I have been advising the Ministers of Environment and Energy on a number of topics. Since the beginning of 2021, I'm serving as the coordinator of the Greek National Hydrogen Committee. It's a great pleasure to be here, and I'd like to say a big thank you to the host, the International Energy Exhibition of Greece, for bringing this amazing blend of people to this beautiful venue. I may need to note here that this is probably the first time in my life where I'm not wearing a tie in an event like that. So first, I would like to invite the speakers to go to their seats. So in a more casual setting, I'm very honored to be chairing this panel. I must admit that this is another year with a great lineup of distinguished speakers. Let me start with Mr. Fokion Tassoulas, Group Director and Executive Committee Member at Titan Cement Company Group. Mrs. Nora Gourdoupi, Senior Vice President of Business Development from Advent Technologies. Mr. Vasilis Teriakidis, the founder and the visionary behind BNT Composites. Dr. John Kokarakis, Technology and Business Development Director of Bureau Veritas. And Mr. Tomadakis, Strategy and Development Division Director from DESFA. Dr. Emmanuel Stamatakis from Fourth, ITE, representative of Hydrogen Europe in Crete and the Center of Geoenergy in Hania. Dr. Panagiotis Gamelis from CERT, the guy behind the Hydrogen Hub. And we also have virtually with us His Excellency Mr. Yorgos Kastabidis, Governor of Western Macedonia. We will be joined later, from what I hear, by Mr. Yorgos Hatzimarkakis, the Secretary General of Hydrogen Europe. Dr. Athanasios Toubos, from the he is the national representative of Greece in the joint undertaking of hydrogen for the European Commission, director of Demokritos, and among the visionaries of the Cyrus spin-off. Also, we had the great pleasure to be joined by Dr. Valentina Dedi, who is a lead economist at KBR in the United Arab Emirates, and Deputy Director of Access for Women in Energy. All set? Okay. So, today I intend to start with presenting you the latest updates on what we have achieved so far on a national level, and then I will ask from our distinguished speakers to help us take a deep dive in the global, regional, and national hydrogen developments from a corporate policy and research angle. The topic is the hydrogen market, the hydrogen economy. Then I will open it up for Q&A, so please calculate the time needed for your comments so that we cover as much as possible and get some good questions from the audience. Okay, so last year, the topic of this panel was an introduction to hydrogen in Greece. We had some representatives from the European Investment Bank to help us think how to finance hydrogen projects. We had a few ambassadors and representatives from the companies that they were planning hydrogen projects. The great news of last year was that we had a commitment from the regional governor of Crete that the Northern Highway, also known as Βόρειος Οδικός Άξονας Κρήτης, VOAK, will be a hydrogen-ready highway. This year, the title that I would give to this panel is The Survivors. And what I mean this year is that we do have projects that are moving forward. And yes, I insist that hydrogen is no longer coming from the future. It's not an afterthought. Let me put it this way. When we speak now about hydrogen, we don't need to have, to listen to the futuristic music of Vangelis Papathanasiou anymore. I mean, it's happening, right? So let me start with our first great success that basically put Greece officially on the European hydrogen map. I'm talking about the two projects that have been notified in the first wave from the Greek state. The Green Hippo of Advent Technologies, which is an innovative production facility of electrolyzers and fuel cells in Western Macedonia, and H2 Tank from B&T Composite, which is related to an R&D&I and a first industrial deployment project related to innovative tanks made out of carbon fiber that can be used in transportation of hydrogen or for storage purposes. Both of them are deemed quite positively from the DGCOM, and the next wave, dedicated on decarbonization through hydrogen, will be notified around September, together with the Climate, Energy and Environmental Aid Guidelines, also known as SEAC. And then the evaluation of the Rattle wave will kick in. So those are the first results of a cross-sectoral approach we applied as the PCI process has been embraced by our government vertically, involving not only the Secretaries of Energy and Industry as the originators, but also the ones of Maritime Affairs, Transportation, and Research and Innovation. Another Greek project, by the way, that we expect to see soon is hydrogen trains. But let me stop here on the IPCIs. Last but not least, in December 2021, we concluded the Greek National Hydrogen Strategy, an extended document including a roadmap and more than 30 policy measure proposals. And the next step is to move to public consultation, which is expected to begin maybe in a few weeks. So this is what is happening on the Greek front. I will leave it here, and I will go take my seat and start asking questions. From my information, I need to sit over there, right? Yes? Okay. All right. It doesn't feel so good, right?
It's a little bit ugly.
Yeah. Maybe I should sit somewhere else. Maybe I should stand, okay? It makes it more better. Okay. So let me start with Governor Kasapidis. How do you feel? Can you hear us, Mr. Kasapidis?
Καλησπέρα.
Καλησπέρα.
Hello?
Καλησπέρα.
The
question is, how do you feel that the first two projects that have been published are both projects of Western Macedonia? Is this a step? How do you see this as a step to see Western Macedonia to be pioneer in the field of hydrogen? Thank you for this invitation to participate in this excellent conference, and I congratulate all the organizers for this conference and for the outcomes that have been excluded so far for the benefit of Western Macedonia. As you already said, two of the programs that our country has published in the European Union have been approved, and they have to do with Western Macedonia. It is a great pleasure that we accept them, and we have put a lot of effort in the previous year in order to create this good environment for the region of Western Macedonia, and to have these suggestions and proposals. It is a historic and important event for the Western Macedonia and Greece, because we're talking about a new technology, which seems that will prevail much earlier than we thought, than scientists thought. And after 2040, they thought it would prevail, but now it's a fact, and it starts in Western Macedonia. So, very nice, thank you very much.
I will now go to Mrs. Wurdubi. Okay, you've been notified.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
That's a fact.
I really regret that I didn't buy any of your stocks the day before.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here. So what's the story with Advent now? We lost track. You're almost everywhere.
Yeah, that's true in a way. So if I could switch to Greek, I think we have the translation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It is our honor to be here in Crete in this excellent conference about energy. We heard a lot of things since yesterday, very interesting things, and the session now is also very interesting. And this started in 2006 through a big course. In 2021, in February, we managed to enter the stock market of New York, and the company proceeded to some the company bought some other companies, and we managed to pass from components to final systems. And the company always, since it started, it continues to do in core components of fossil fuels and electrolyzers. So, with Green Hippo now, and at this point I'd like to thank Mr. Kasapidis and everyone that helped Advent to enter this field, because there was a work has been done a few years ago. It was years or some months. It was a preparation that took place during some months only. Yes, it was some coincidences which helped some technologies to proceed earlier. So Advent today will be in the field of development of systems of fossil fuels, final systems for production of energy and fuels and electricity. And our aim, as we will also mention later in the presentation, through Green Hippo, the production line of both systems and to be in Western Macedonia. Very nice, thank you very much. We carry on in Greek. Mr. I'd like to ask to share your own story with us. And Airbus and both other companies are interested. I'd like you to describe a little bit. What does your project, why is your project so innovative? You're another success story. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor for me to be here. Yes, BNT Composites is a company based in Florida. It develops products and exports them in Europe, mainly. The project of tanks and savings of hydrogen is a continuation of work that has been made in the last years. With our procurement and our participation, we had the chance to present our work and be introduced after 18 months of persistent work. We're going to develop some innovative hydrogen storage systems and transportation systems. What is innovative is that the tanks will have systems of detection of potential leaks with optical fibers systems. And the next step is to create tanks which will not have an internal liner, the Type 5 tanks, in cooperation with the University of Ioannina. And these are the systems that make our tanks innovative. Many companies are interested to cooperate with big European companies. We are very happy that as a company in Western Macedonia, we contribute together with Mr. Kasapidis. We participate. We are also part of his vision that Western Macedonia to be the first region that will use hydrogen, build hydrogen. Maybe Western Macedonia will be the center of hydrogen in Greece, and maybe Mr. Kasapidis, the first hydrogen island will be in Prespes, Agios Achilleos. Maybe it will be in our region. It is true that it's the first time I hear this. I'm surprised. So, since we are in Western Macedonia, let's carry on to Mr. Gramelis. As I know, we have a hydrogen hub there. And since we talked about Hydrogen Valley, a few words about your own venture and how this fits in this Hydrogen Valley. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. So we plan to construct this. We're in the beginning. We already have a close cooperation with BNT Composites. It's an initiative by Mr. Kasapidis, which he trusted our region in Western Macedonia. His headquarters are in Thessaloniki, but he also has 6 branches in Greece, and we have a big infrastructure from resources of the region of Western Macedonia. And we follow the same trend and this idea of combo hydrogen. And the idea was to have a project which will be the beginning for having companies who want to invest in the region, and in order to have a big part in the production of hydrogen and the facilities which will support investors in terms of hydrogen production. Now we are creating a study which is supported by the Green Fund. We'll have the first results soon. Now we talk with we also talk about the land planning. There are many different components. We have the unit of production of green hydrogen with all the technical difficulties that are present. For example, we need to be able to construct hydrogen much bigger than the Demokritos. So we need to see also the topics of electricity production. Another dimension is electricity. How these will be regulated from the photovoltaics. And other topics that will help us. And of course, we do not forget the factory facilities. About the timeline, until 2025, we expect it to work. So you can be part of the category of survivors. Yes, we are survivors a lot of years in Western Macedonia, but now we're adapting the environment. Now I feel like home, so now we go to Athens. And we apologize to our interpreter because we said that only 2 people are going to speak in Greek. So I will switch in English.
No problem.
After the last RFI from the COM, I would invite you to elaborate a bit for our audience. First of all, what does hydrogen has to do with cement, right? And I would also like to hear more information about your vision as a company, because I know that you have a huge fleet of heavy-duty vehicles.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the invitation. I would say only one expression in Greek is "θα λέγατε τι δουλειά έχει αλεπού στο παζάρι." So we're a totally different animal, and you may know that we're a company with 120 years of history, but we try always to adapt and innovate and be ahead of our times. And we have a very ambitious strategy to have competitive advantage through digitalization, sustainability, and innovation. So these are the 3 pillars that the last 5 years has given us a lot of boost to do new things. One of these, and I will say this because it's connected to what we are doing, is digitalization. Today we run most of our assets with AI, with real-time optimizers, and we have 2 spin-offs as in other companies that are get out to offer services to cement industry. From the side of sustainability, you know we are CO2 emitters, and part of these emissions are coming from limestone, that we convert this to calcium oxide, so 60% of our emissions is from that, so we cannot fight with this for the moment, and we need to take other measures. But 40% of this are coming from fuel. So our level of ambition is to eliminate these emissions that are coming from fuel and from heat that we require. So part of our strategy is to replace our fuels with alternative fuels. And with our innovation program, the last years we thought about hydrogen. And because we have developed a new culture of experimenting, testing new ideas, and then scaling them up and accelerate. We did that with hydrogen. for 2 years now at a very small scale, and it has been proven that hydrogen for us is enhancing and catalyzing our burning process and giving us great opportunities. So after that, we thought that's a great opportunity for us to scale it up, and we can talk later about more details on that and try to spill over some of the effects of hydrogen to other probably implementations. As you mentioned, we have in Greece more than 2,000 heavy vehicles that cannot be managed with batteries at the moment or other fuels than the traditional fuels. So we are thinking to, with our new project that we have, to scale it up and have such a spillover and try to implement hydrogen also as a fuel for mobility. So we have great plans for the future, and we're very happy being here and sharing ideas together with you that you are an ecosystem of innovation in hydrogen.
Let me clarify here that Titan is active, very active, not just in Greece, but in the United States and many other countries.
Yes, we are having a history of 120 years. 80% of our EBITDA and revenue is coming from abroad, most of it from US, but also have presence in Southeast Europe, in Turkey, in North Africa, in Brazil, and so we believe that we are a very young company, even that we are 120 years old.
Now, since you talked about an ecosystem, that it is now a reality, I think it's a good time to go to Mr. Stoubos. Maybe one day we will call you, Thanos, something like a founding father of hydrogen or something like that in Greece. Thanos is the national representative of Greece in the joint undertaking for hydrogen, director of Demokritos, and among the visionaries of the Cyrus spin-off. I would go directly to the chase, Thanos, because you had a great presentation of your hydrogen refueling station about a month ago with Manos, of course, and the rest of the team in Demokritos. We are talking about a very innovative project, a hydrogen refueling station with non-mechanical mechanisms, which makes it quite innovative and very attractive. Would you like to tell us how you envision? Of course, Thanos is, and Manos as well, are part of the National Hydrogen Committee, and we spend hours and hours, and we still spend more hours and hours to get things moving. So, Thano, the floor is yours.
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you very well.
All right, that's good. Thank you very much, Costa. Thank you. Many thanks to the organizers for the invitation. It's really a pleasure to be with you today, even at a distance. I'm sorry about that. Thanks for calling me something like a grandfather.
Well, founding father, not a grandfather. Founding father.
Don't take it negative.
No. Thank you for Keon. Yes, it has been a pleasure that I say we because we are a team, of course. Manos is there and several other collaborators. We have been behind, let's say, the initiation of the various activities related to hydrogen technologies in the country over the last years. That's a good thing to hear and a good feeling for us. Now, in Demokritos, as you said, we have developed several research and development activities regarding hydrogen technologies, especially concerning storage of hydrogen, compression of hydrogen using, as already mentioned by Kostas, avoiding actually the use of the classical mechanical compressors with moving parts and all the disadvantages that come along with these devices. And recently we have started the official operation, I would say, because the actual operation has started long ago, the official operation of the first pilot hydrogen refueling station in the country, in the premises of Demokritos. This is something that we hope will provide the opportunity or will be the first step toward the development of a series of activities that have to do with a lot of things, not only research, but also in relation to market deployment of hydrogen technologies, wide market deployment of hydrogen technologies in the country, in transportation, in industry, and in any other energy-related applications. One important thing with regard to the actual development of the station is that it integrates compression technology that has been developed in Demokritos, and it is now property of a spin-off company of Demokritos named Cyrus, a compression technology that, as I said before, avoids the use of moving mechanical parts. And in that respect, it has a series of advantages. It reduces a lot the use of electricity for the compression of hydrogen. It is noiseless. That's also a very important advantage. It comes along with very much reduced operational costs and so on. So
it's very important for the cities.
I guess that we will have the opportunity to discuss about things later as well. Like I said, the important thing for the country, I think, is to develop a hydrogen market now.
Yep.
In several ways and in several applications, including, as I said, transportation, industry, and so on. That is the step that has to be taken, and there are several things that have to be done in that respect, and we're here to perhaps discuss about those necessary things.
A question. I know that Yorgos Hatzimarkakis will be joining us soon. I think he's driving his hydrogen car from Germany all the way now and should be in Pirasport, I don't know. So when do you see that? How many hydrogen refueling stations do you see in the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Like yes, if somebody decides to buy a hydrogen car, you know, that's a question that I believe everyone has.
Yes, from my position as the national representative of the country of Greece in Brussels at the European Commission for Hydrogen Technologies, I can say that the official, let's say, number used to be, I say used to be because this was a number about 2 years ago, and things have changed drastically over the last 1-2 years, as we all know, from many viewpoints. The official number was about 850 hydrogen refueling stations to be operating, deployed and operating, actually operating in the different countries, in the different member states of the European Union by the year 2025. I am pretty sure that this number will be pushed upward very soon, and this is about a minimum, okay? This is the minimum number of hydrogen refueling stations to be actually operating in Europe by 2025. I believe that there will be several thousands of those by 2030, and that it will be possible, the dream we all have for many years now, to get a continuous network of highways that will make it possible for someone to drive a hydrogen-powered vehicle, a car, passenger car, or a truck, or a heavy-duty vehicle, or whatever, drive it from Greece, from Crete even, from the southernmost point of Europe of European Union, up to the north of Norway or something like this. So I think that this is something that we have to really look forward, and we have to try to make it a reality. All of us, not only Greeks.
Proportionally for Greece, Mano, how many do you think?
The number, as Thanos said, 2 years ago, for Greece was around 18 filling stations, but this has changed due to the new regulations of the European Commission, because now they demand to have at least one HRS hydrogen filling station every 150 kilometers. Okay. So these numbers has changed.
So for Crete, and I'll get
for
back
Crete, I think at least 4 or 5.
Four. One for each main city.
Correct.
Okay, great. So I will now turn to Mr. Tomadakis from DESFA, from what we read, your hydrogen project has been earmarked as Repower EU project, and especially now after the war in Ukraine. What's your view for the emergence of the European hydrogen economy? And I know also that DESFA is a founding member of the Hydrogen Backbone Association. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. First of all, let me remind to everybody that we are building the first hydrogen pipeline in Greece. Okay, it goes to West Macedonia. Okay. So we are very happy that we hear that hydrogen will be produced there. In any case, our pipeline is going to be positioned to accommodate it in the long run. So it's the first pipeline in Greece that fully meets the hydrogen transportation standards, high pressure. So good luck to Mr. Kasapidis and everybody else in your efforts to produce hydrogen in West Macedonia. In parallel, allow me to say that we are almost concluding our study on how much hydrogen can be transported in today's network. So blended with natural gas, because the more we can, the more hydrogen we can transport throughout Greece, the better it will be for the development of the market of hydrogen. I think this is important. And to come to what you mentioned, the Repower EU, we had since last year, let's say 1.5 years now, the idea of developing a pure hydrogen pipeline. So let's say the Greek hydrogen backbone.
Hydrogen dedicated
designed to transport only hydrogen.
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
Of course, it will need very, very large amounts of hydrogen to transport. In parallel, we have made a study on how much is the production of hydrogen in Greece envisaged in a gradual way. So we think, and that's why we proposed it, that we have to somehow duplicate our current system with a hydrogen-ready pipeline, meaning a pipeline that is in absolute position to transport 100% hydrogen through it. Now, we did not stay there. We collaborated with Bulgartransgas, TAP, and SNAM. So all of us, all those TSO, also plus North Macedonia, NER, so the new pipeline to North Macedonia, which is about to start construction in the next following months, will also be hydrogen ready. And so all these things will formulate, let's say, the Greek and the Southeast European hydrogen backbone on that. We have already submitted this project almost a year ago, and it has already been incorporated in what is called 10-year development plan of hydrogen for Europe. So the inauguration last month and the signature by Mrs. Galli of let's say the founding declaration of all of 31 TSOs in Europe for transportation of hydrogen was just another step in our effort to develop a hydrogen backbone in Greece. Now, we have, due to the latest facts which relate heavily with the security of supply of gas, and we have proposed that this project becomes part of the Repower EU projects. You know, we have, of course, incorporated this idea also in the IPCI projects, for the time being not having, let's say, rejected, but we don't have a positive response there yet. But this project is a part of the Repower EU, since the same pipeline is already needed to cover the needs of our neighbors with natural gas. We must not forget that the hydrogen-ready pipeline is also a natural gas-ready pipeline, And for
it's
the
gas. Hydrogen is gas. We have to
highlight hydrogen is more difficult gas than natural gas. So whatever is hydrogen ready is by default natural gas ready. So we try to combine the needs of today with the needs of tomorrow. And with this REPowerEU proposal, which we heavily support right now, we have spent a lot of time and efforts on that. And we hope that we will be in position, part by part, gradually, to develop a hydrogen-ready backbone in Greece. And we very, very much urge everybody to produce enough hydrogen to transport, okay? Because at the end of the day, we will need hydrogen to transport. But we are here to help any effort in this direction. And we are doing whatever we can, not only us, but also our shareholders, who are very, you know, that are among the most advanced and pioneers in hydrogen in Europe. We are doing our best to promote also the development of hydrogen market in Greece as part of the Southeast Europe relevant market. And let's not forget that already this effort has a name, is the 5th hydrogen corridor of the European hydrogen backbone. So we started, and let's see.
Okay, thank you. That was very interesting. So we started broadening it up. And of course, the reason that I didn't give you the line for the Western Macedonia, it's not that I don't know the project there, it's because you are a national operator. That means that you cover first the country and then the region, right? Okay. That's the strategic purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I will now try to change location. Okay, so that I can see Mr. Kokarakis, who is the Technology and Business Development Director of Bureau Veritas. It's time for a reality check, I guess, right? This is probably one of the most important sectors of an emerging Greek hydrogen value chain, and I'm referring to shipping. Should I ask a question, or the floor is yours?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. With my turn, I would like to thank you personally for the invitation, and at the same time, I would like to congratulate the organizers of this conference for two reasons. One is that it was organized in my home city of Chania. We love Chania, and I cannot avoid saying that. And the second reason is that this is a gathering of authorities on the subject. And let me tell you that I'm very encouraged by what I've heard so far. As we know, Rome was not built in one day. So I'm very encouraged by the progress that has been done so far. And I believe that it is going to continue in that and faster pace. I have to admit that I was familiar with Advent, who presented their work to my company. But what is critical is that we at shipping are mandated by the International Maritime Organization to decarbonize. And we consider very different fuels. We consider methane, ammonia, methanol, and of course hydrogen. My personal opinion is that hydrogen is a key in the future multi-fuel society. Why? Because it is the mother of all fuels. You need the hydrogen as a feedstock to create all the others. Right. So if you capture carbon dioxide, combine it with hydrogen, and you can make the other fuels. It has high energy. It has its problems. As they say in America, there are no free lunches, but there are various stumbling blocks in the pathway, which I'm sure are going to be overcome because technology is moving very fast. Some ideas improvement of the electrolysis process if we go with green hydrogen. I was reading about the Haldor-Topsoe procedure, the SynCore procedure, which has upscaled production of hydrogen to almost 1,000 tons per day, and can probably be upgraded as well. There are problems. I don't want to go into the logistics. We need water, we need electrolytes. For 1 kilogram water, we need about 9 kilograms of 1 kilogram hydrogen. We need 9 kilograms of water. That's a lot of water, probably the Loch Ness. So we also need electricity. We need, we produce with the conventional methods of production today, we have 10 kilograms of carbon dioxide emitted to get 1 kilogram hydrogen. So in that sense, it doesn't make a difference to produce hydrogen. No impact on the decarbonization, on the tally of carbon dioxide. And recently, I would like to give you the information that 3 days ago, IMO has started a correspondence, a working group to determine the life cycle, make the life cycle assessment of various fuels. That means that we are going to consider the carbon dioxide emitted, besides that methane and nitrous oxide, which are major greenhouse gases, not only from tank to wake, but also from well to tank. And that will make our life more difficult, but that's the way it has to be. So I don't want to monopolize the time. I'm here, I can reply to your question.
I have another question for you.
Please.
So from the very first time that I gave my first speech on hydrogen, that was like 2 or 3 years ago, I always pointed out what's the great opportunity for the Greek shipping family. Not just hydrogen, it's hydrogen and CO2 transportation as well. It's not just what's the right fuel to burn for the shipping industry, but somebody has to connect the dots, and that's the moment that I will go to Mrs. Devi, probably, because now, I apologize for the time, and I didn't want you to wait, but we started, you know, from Western Macedonia, then we went south, and then we went through shipping, we went regionally through DESFA, and then through shipping, we are going globally right now. So the discussion is somebody has to connect the upstreamers of hydrogen, right, with the emerging centers like the demand centers, whether that is Japan, Korea, or Germany. So there are two questions. The first one is, what is the role that you envision for the Greek shipping community in terms of transporting, transferring hydrogen or CO2, blue hydrogen, I just, you know. And the other one is, which is totally different. I know that our shipping family was always referring to IMO, and they were a bit away from the decision-making in Brussels, right? Now I feel that they got it right, and they want to engage with people that decide, because it's better to decide with your presence than your than not being there. So what's your take on that? And then I will go to Mrs. Eddy.
Thank you. Both are very good questions. With respect to hydrogen, I believe that it's going to be a major share of hydrogen in the future. But a few years ago, we had the same discussion about LNG, the so-called chicken and egg situation.
Exactly.
Okay, we like LNG, but there is no infrastructure. And we have the same question for hydrogen. Is there infrastructure? Okay, we will make infrastructure. Today, it seems that when it comes to LNG, there is no problem with the infrastructure. We hope that the same is going to be the case with hydrogen. Maybe a hub, an island, same way that Miles has converted Bjørnholm Island in Denmark to the so-called methanol island, where they make methanol with wind turbines. So this problem is going to be solved. Unfortunately, allow me to make a little bit, I have a little bit of a fear that we are going all over. We follow many different avenues, and that reminds me of the dogs that chase their tails. Probably we have to focus somewhat, look at the most promising pathway and focus on that, because we split our potential. This is one problem.
That was the point during Posidonia, that we are not going to see one fuel, but a blend of e-fuels.
It is a blend, and we look to all of them. Okay. I'm not, in my profession, I get questions from ship owners. The major question today, the hot potato, the $1 million question is, yes, I will build, but what fuel? So there are different answers. Maybe you have to have engines that will burn all of them.
Yeah.
That's possible. You can do this with minor correction. But it is a problem.
Yeah.
We have to pick somewhere. Now, the other question?
The other question was about the
IMO.
Brussels and
yes,
IMO.
Yes, thank you. Personally, I am an IMO guy. I do not work for IMO. Although I'm a technical advisor for the French flag in the proceedings. But I believe that the initiative by the European community may be wrong, because it is a regionalization of regulations. That's going to cause confusion and problems. Unfortunately, we had the COVID pandemic. This made the work of IMO very difficult. Do you know how many hours they worked in the MEPC conventions? 3 hours a day. What can you do in 3 hours a day? Nothing. So, European community claims that IMO does not move, so we are going to move. The will is there. At MEPC 78 in June, from 6 to 10, IMO picked the gauntlet that was thrown at them from COP26. They are going to revise their strategy, and instead of having 50% reduction of CO2 in 2050, they are going for zero emissions. So it is better if there is going to be an agreement, if it's going to be regulation by IMO alone, because now we have an opening of the Pandora's box. We have European community, then we have China, then we have India, we have the United States, and it's going to be a mess.
Thank you. So I'll now want to open it a little bit up and bring in the discussion Mrs. Valentina Dedri. She's a lead economist at KBR. So I have a number of issues that I would like to ask here, since you are based in the United Arab Emirates. So we had the COP there, we had the IRENA summit for renewables, for hydrogen, and the topic I remember was the geopolitics of hydrogen. First, I would like to invite you to give us a broad statement of how, as from your role, how do you see the future of hydrogen regionally first? And I know that the region over there, they have huge plans about hydrogen. UAE, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as well. So I would invite you to give us a brief overview first, and then I will start asking more specific things. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. No worries. Good. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the invitation. Likewise, it's a great pleasure to be here with you, even virtually. Although I must admit that I'm a bit jealous. It would have been a greater pleasure if I was there with you in person, and especially this time of the year, instead of being here in the humid and hot Dubai. So yeah, it's really great to be here and contribute actually to this discussion on hydrogen, because we are really living in very exciting times. I remember just a couple of years ago, we were working on oil and gas projects, and within the past 2 years, everything has to do about these low carbon technologies and hydrogen. So everyone now, all our customers are interested in hydrogen and how actually they can take a share of this hydrogen pie. I know that you asked me about to give you an overview of the regional situation here, which indeed both the UAE and Saudi Arabia have really big ambitions about the hydrogen deployment, and they are envisioning becoming leaders in exporting hydrogen. But let me give you also a global overview, because at the moment we have clients from Asia, many clients from Asia as well, and from Latin America, who also have the same vision of becoming leaders in the global hydrogen economy. So there is a strong competition at the moment. We understand that all these countries, like I said, these Middle East countries, or Chile, and Australia, for example, from Asia, they do have access to renewable resources, or they do have access to gas. So it will make it easier for them to become dominant players in exporting hydrogen. Of course, we should not expect, we need really to be realistic, because we should not expect hydrogen to become like a global traded commodity within the next few years, right? We are really far away from that. And I tell you why, because at the moment, what we are seeing, and what I see actually from all these discussions about hydrogen, is that we focus a lot on hydrogen production. Of course, the upstream segment, I mean, producing hydrogen at a competitive basis is really important, is the starting point, but having a fully functioning and developed hydrogen economy needs to go beyond hydrogen production. And we really need to look at the entire value chain. And at the moment, we are not doing it. So we really need to understand that besides increasing the production capacity and having it at a competitive basis, we need to look at the development of CCUS, storage, conversion, transmission, distribution, infrastructure, and also look at demand, as it was mentioned, it was discussed earlier. And at the moment, there is a big gap. Also, besides those countries that envision to become leaders in exporting hydrogen, we have seen even those countries that they do not have this capacity or the access to resources, they still envision to become leaders, maybe in technology. And there are plenty Asian countries, and a really good example of that is Japan and South Korea, who are actually targeting that. And of course, Europe is trying to become a leader in policy. And most of the ambitious climate targets at the moment are coming actually from Europe.
Okay, thank you. Forgive me, but I still do have this American way of, putting things, on the table, and I'll try to be very frank. So we had Energiewende, the revolution in the renewables, starting from Germany. Germany was the leader. They regulated the market, feeding tariffs. They did an amazing job, right? And of course, they had a very good plan, and they were like talking on behalf of the whole European Union almost. So when they were talking versus China. So the question is, I see that there is great potential from European technology companies. and I think that we have a couple of them here, right? But would that energy vendor 2.0, because Germany is the one that leads this technology effort in hydrogen, shall we see? Do you think that we will see another China? China dominating again the whole technology sector because of its favored position in the value chain, in the critical raw materials and other materials that are used for fuel cells and electrolyzers. What's your take on that?
This is a really good question, and there is that risk. At the moment, Europe is doing quite well on providing technology, for example, for electrolyzers, as you mentioned. And there are efforts that are being made at the moment in order to maintain that position and in order not to experience against what we saw a decade ago, what happened with renewables. So there is the risk. I'm not really sure on that, to be honest. I'm not sure if I'm the right one to comment on that. But as I see it with Europe and all these policies and all this effort that is being put at the moment for the region to carbon neutral and for seeing hydrogen as really a key pillar of all these plans, I expect that there will be significant effort, and then maybe they don't really give in at the moment, because there are lots of opportunities that are emerging at the moment with the hydrogen deployment. So I expect Europe not really to give in, or not really to do maybe the same mistakes as in the past and lose again the market. So that is my take. Yeah.
Okay. I just remember that phrase of Gary Lineker about football. Football is a game. I don't remember exactly the words, but if anyone can help, I think it was where Germans winning at the very end, right? So I just don't want to see that happening with China again in hydrogen. So, okay, last but not least, I would like to go to Mr. Manos Stamatakis. He's the local guy. Thank you, Manos, for your patience. I think Manos has been recently appointed as the representative of Hydrogen Europe here in Crete. As I said, we have been working closely for the works of the National Hydrogen Committee, and he's also among the founders of Cyrus spin-off. I will go to Crete, because last year we had the commitment from the regional government here that they have this ambition to turn VOAK, Βόρειος Οδικός Άξονας, into the first hydrogen-ready highway for Greece. So I think Crete has a great potential, and I believe this is actually the purpose that we meet here. The potential is not just for hydrogen, but all sources of energy. So can Crete be a hydrogen powerhouse? That's my question.
Okay.
Very broad.
Thank you, Kostas. Thanks to the organizers for this invitation. I'm very happy to be here in my hometown now, because I work here in Kanya for the Institute of Geoenergy of Forth.
Yeah.
First, let me say that we are also connected somehow to the region of Western Macedonia and the initiative in the hydrogen technology that are taken there. We are, together with Demokritos, our institute is also an advisor of the region and Mr. Chasapidis on hydrogen technologies. We are also, as we said, this spin-off company Cyrus that developing this innovative hydrogen compressors. Somehow we are connected with both with both companies here. Advent recently entered as a strategic investor in our company, and also we are in contact with Mr. Tyriakidis to see if and how we can collaborate of developing our compression with his materials that he is developing.
Great.
So somehow we are...
Lots of synergies.
Yes, lots of synergies, yes, correct. Yes, regarding the question that you asked, we are trying to build on this, the statement last year to develop the VOAG as the first hydrogen highway. It needs a lot of effort, and we are trying to, let's say, to organize the regional community on this and see who and how to implement this visionary target. Crete definitely has the potential to be a valley on hydrogen and be actually a node between Africa and Europe.
So that will be the statement for the whole panel.
Yes,
Crete is going to be the hydrogen valley island of Greece.
Yes, and the connector between two continents. Yes,
because of the cables.
Yes,
and the electricity, the cheap electricity produced in Africa, right?
Yes.
Which means low marginal cost hydrogen. That means competitive hydrogen, right?
Yes, and another something that we can add, because we are doing applied research in our institute, so we can be, let's say, the assistance between the companies and the market of how to easier and safely introduce this technology in our economy. We had the discussion before with Mr. Thomadakis, and one of recent projects that we are starting now from European Commission, and we are coordinators, is to try to explore the geology of the country, and especially around Crete, to see if there are potential sites and salt caverns to store large quantities of hydrogen. And because
hydrogen storage, I believe.
Storage, yes.
Dr. Bellas is the one leading
Bellas will be, yes, the basic, the principal researcher on this. Yes, correct. So this is something that we will start looking very much in detail from this October. It's a 3-year project, and we hope that we will have good results. And after that,
when are we going to have the first results?
A year, probably. We can say something next year.
Okay.
About this.
Great. I don't know if we have Mr. Chazimarkakis. Not yet. Okay. He's still driving the hydrogen car and coming to Piraeus. Okay. Right. So I would like to open it up now for questions. Are there any questions from the audience? Yes, please. Please identify yourself and, yeah, thank you. I think you need the microphone so that we have lots of people watching. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
We can hear you.
So I'm Sharon Jackson, and I built the European Sustainability Academy here in Crete 10 years ago. I've been teaching sustainability leadership for over 20 years. I'm not very young, as you can tell. And I chose Crete. Most of my work had been done in China and in Tasmania before then. And I chose Crete because of all the things we've been discussing. The positioning, the short hot flights from the Middle East to the UK, from Africa, etc. So anyway, that's why I'm here. In the UK, I lecture at Cranfield University, and we have the School of Energy and Water there, which is also successfully looking at hydrogen in aircraft sector. My question is, and thank you for mentioning this, the gentleman on the end, I'm sorry, I didn't notice your name, I think in shipping.
Mr. Korakakis.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that there are problems, because we know there are problems with everything we look at, for sure. And the one that I keep reading about hydrogen is the water problem, water scarcity. So we're talking about this island, which is suffering badly with water scarcity, as we know, and Africa, same problems. You mentioned 9 litres. I've read it's 12 litres. I don't know what's the truth. So we know that is a problem. Is there any thoughts or future ideas about how to deal with that? Because I think that's going to be the thing that's always going to be coming up as the criticism. I'd appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
Before we go, okay. Well, the first answer, I believe, is desalination, but after Mrs. Kokarakis, I will also go to Mrs. Dedi, because she's coming from a region where, we don't, there is no water. So how do we inject, let's say, that factor in the price of hydrogen? How can we make competitive a hydrogen produced in water-poor countries? That's so. Please go ahead.
This is a very good question. I would like to bring some hope to the audience. Last April, I was lucky to be chosen to present as a future bunkering fuel hydrogen in the Delphi Economic Forum. We presented various fuels, and one of the most prominent ones was hydrogen. So, doing some research, I discovered that there is a patented invention of electrolyzing seawater without desalination, which will create a brine. And if you send me, I will give you my card, I can give you a link in the internet to read more about it. What is the caveat here is that you need to put a little bit more electricity than in fresh water. This is a slight problem, but it is not much more. It's about 10% more, something like 50 kilowatt hours per kilogram hydrogen produced. But what we get back is a series of byproducts that can be used for other purposes. So that will help. Admittedly, I have not looked at it afterwards, but there is a company, I believe it is in Denmark, that has patented this, and why not? Let's all remember Jules Verne and Captain Nemo. His invention, he utilized seawater to propel his submarine. So why not? But this is, I believe, a nice landmark in this case. So I think it's worth it to investigate. Yes, it's a game changer.
There are actually many discussions about the ethical part of using water to produce hydrogen. I would like to hear more from Mrs. Dedi on that, because there is scarcity of water in that region, that particular region, and at the same time they have all the potential to produce cheap green hydrogen and cheap blue hydrogen, or turquoise, right?
Yeah, sorry, because I was on mute. I'm so sorry because I couldn't hear the other speaker. I hope I'm not repeating things. So yeah, it is true. Water is a problem in the Middle East region, which is one of the world's most water scarce areas. To be honest, because this is not really a new problem, a new thing in the Middle East region. I know that the technology has improved a lot, and that the water that is desalinated at the moment is enough, for example, to cover at the moment the needs, and even the projects that have been announced from the UAE, for example, or even from Saudi Arabia, for example, for the NEOM project. I think that the production rates of desalinated water at the moment are enough to cover such projects. So I don't have the numbers in front of me because it happened. I was reading a few articles about that some time ago, but I know that at the moment it's not that a big problem for them and the projects that they are planning at the moment. when it comes to pricing, that I think you asked that, Kostas, about if that has been factored in. I'm sure that has been factored in because, as I said, at the moment, most of the attention is given on the access to renewable resources and the cost of renewable energy, and the region at the moment has an advantage on that. It is one of the cheapest producers. It can be one of the cheapest producers of renewable resources. So I'm sure that the water issue has also been factored in, and still the region remains a competitive area for hydrogen production.
Anyone else would like to add something on that question? Okay.
Can I say something, Costa?
Yes, Thanos, of course, go ahead.
Yes, I thank the lady who asked the question. I couldn't see from this far who actually is, but really thanks for the question, because it is important to clarify at this stage at least, and I want to continue on what Valentina just said before. The issue of water, let's take a country like Greece, because, okay, the Middle East or North Africa may be different, slightly different case due to the scarcity of water there, but if you take a country like Greece...
Near East, yes.
Yes, Near East. If you take a country like Greece, then the amount of water, the consumption of water per capita in our country and in countries similar to us is huge, really huge. And we have been talking about doing something about it for many years now. I can tell you that the quantities of hydrogen that the European Commission foresees for Europe, not for Greece, for Europe, over the next decade or so, which is something like 20 million tons per year, require an amount of water which is really, I don't say nothing, but I say really not important if we consider what can be done if we simply, very simply, each one of us takes some care when he consumes or she consumes water for any purpose, especially agriculture. There is a lot of potential in agriculture, huge potential for savings, which have to be done anyway. And these savings cover by far the requirements of water for what is currently foreseen in terms of the amount of hydrogen to be produced in order to establish a hydrogen market in Europe. So for the moment, this is not the major issue that we encounter in our efforts to establish this market, and there are other things definitely which are more demanding for the moment. I can assure, I understand the question, I really thank the lady for the question again, but I can pretty much assure anyone that this is not the major problem we have. The amounts of water we're talking about are not that great.
Thank you, Thano. Another question? Anyone? I would also like to invite our panelists, whether they would like to have another final comment. Just 2 or 3 sentences. And I will start now with Manos.
Okay, just to complete what Thanos said before regarding the water consumption, is that also we have to take into account that the total cycle is closed.
Yeah.
So the water that it's wanted to produce hydrogen is the same water that you take it back to the system, the global system, when you burn it and produce electricity or whatever, okay? So the cycle is closed, so the water is not consumed from the planet of our country.
Noted. Final remarks.
And of course, okay, seawater is an option.
Okay.
Okay. And especially the proposal from Mr. Korakakis that there might be solutions to produce hydrogen directly from seawater without desalination. Yes. As a final comment, yes, I still believe this vision for Crete, and I hope to see soon this hydrogen highway become a reality in the country and the island, and also for Crete to play this central role for hydrogen, not only for our country, but also for Europe.
You are the leader, and we're going to be your followers.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I will try.
Mr. Tomadakis, final remarks?
This is going to be a very big effort, requiring cooperation of too many entities and technologies and institutions and all of us. I think, and I'm very happy that Mr. Stamatakis mentioned that, well, the biggest problem energy transition will face will be storage, energy storage. And we have to work on that. We do our best from our side. We are here, and I convey this message to everybody that DESFA is here to help. And we try to establish this hydrogen backbone, but again, needs cooperative effort and also needs something that I haven't heard so far, proper regulatory and legal framework, which we must not forget, okay?
It's coming, it's coming.
Okay, let's see it. Allow me to say that the regulatory framework...
We'll start with the strategy and then the regulator will follow.
And few steps are already...
One step at a time.
Yes.
Okay, no, I have...
Noted.
Well, yeah, okay. So...
Thank you. Mr. Gamelis.
I totally agree with Mr. Tomadakis, and I want to add that we need more infrastructure projects, because all we talk now is on theory, and so if you have not done the infrastructure projects, this will not go ahead. And this needs time. So to tell, but it's not only the water problem, it's also the electricity.
Yeah.
80% of the cost is electricity, and not only the quantity of the electricity, but also the quality. You need to prove that it's renewable, that is green, which is not easily solved. And the second point is you need cheap electricity.
Of course.
I had a friend of mine in Germany that he told me we operate electrolyzers when we have zero cost for electricity. Yeah. Which means you have to take into account the additionality cost, the additionality issues. So it is very important, saying that we formulate the regulatory framework, it is very important to solve these technical issues.
Thank you for highlighting this. The cost of electricity is very important. That's why we said also about the desalination that we need to factor that in as well. At the same time, I have to note here that, yeah, we need infrastructure projects, and not just infrastructure, but any projects, hydrogen projects, because they are the one that will bring on the surface all the regulatory issues that need to be resolved. So we have to break, we have to nuke the chicken and egg problem once again to see this economy moving forward, right?
Not only the regulatory, also the technical ones, because these are very important.
That's your job.
Yeah, and you have to go to economy of scales, and I totally agree with Mr. Tomadakis that we need collaboration of the different entities, and this is very important. Clusters of enterprises, of institutions that come together and work together.
Sure.
Because the energy storage problem is not the problem of today; it's the problem of yesterday.
Correct.
Due to the boom in renewables, I think that in a couple of years it will be a huge problem for the electricity grid. So we don't count only fossil fuels. But
may I say a number I calculated yesterday?
Yeah, I'm sure that this is
our forecast for the DAC effect, you know, the sunset effect of photovoltaics, for 2030 in Greece will be 4,000 megawatts.
Coming from?
I don't know.
So quality of energy, not only quantity.
We need 4,000 megawatts daily. And this is the daily storage we have to have, or the daily production we have to put in reserves to operate for a few hours a day. And this is only daily. I had the chance to have the short discussion. Sorry for taking up time. We need 5.4 terawatt hours of storage in Greece to accommodate the needs, the future needs of the power system, seasonal, intraday, and strategic reserve, and we can have only 1.1 to 1.5 terawatt hours of hydro pumping. Everything else needs to come from unknown sources for the time being.
Which are cost effective. They should be cost effective.
First of all, they have to exist. Yeah. For the time being, nothing exists.
Yeah. But it's good to notice that also, I think Mrs. Duku, the General Secretariat for Energy, she announced that they will issue 1,000 megawatt licenses for storage, if I read it correctly in the news. So this is one step, but one step.
Yeah, but don't forget, batteries is daily storage.
Yes.
There is nothing, unless hydro and gas of any kind, that can be seasonal. Sorry.
No, we intend to have a hydrogen discussion, not a general energy policy discussion, but I hear you.
But you have to highlight the energy. Energy is totally, water comes, but energy is
hydrogen is energy. Yes.
The energy cost to produce hydrogen.
Step by step. Björn, would like to have some remarks?
I would like a little bit to underline something I tried to cover, and that's why is one of the reasons why we are here. Is we are thinking very deep, and we spend a lot of time strategically to move from the what to how. And we see that we need to build new capabilities, to develop new talent, to attract new talent, to build new infrastructure. Because what we try to address are problems that are not with one solution, cannot be solved by one part, so are integrated very complex problems. So what we see is, what I mentioned earlier, is the concept of ecosystems, and we have seen this working very, very efficient and effective in our digital transformation, how you attract and work together with startups that provide you the technology, how you integrate academia and institutions that work with you to develop new methodologies, how you even bring OEMs that they have long tradition in technology to work with you, and you integrate them to a new, let's say, strategic coalition to solve complex problems. And for us, that hydrogen, I would say, big experiment is partly also that, how you create the talent for the future and how we build capabilities that we don't have today, even how we build financial tools to address all the future needs. So were really impressed being in such fora to exchange ideas and information. We, as a company, we invest in different companies and startups. We discussed the other day about a heat battery startup from Silicon Valley that they store heat from green electricity for days or months with 98% efficiency. So, and we believe that this is a critical, let's say, acceleration lever to do things different.
Let me note here that I'm very, very optimistic for two reasons for Greece. The first one is that I see the efforts of, just some, normal Greek people, and they start from a lab, and they ended up, going and raising a couple of millions from NASDAQ, or starting from Florina, a remote small city, and you get the interest from a company like Airbus. At the same time, and I need to highlight that, I see a couple of Greek companies contributing to the so-called brain gain. I mean, our generation has suffered a lot from the Greek crisis, and I think this is very well understood from the current government, and we work towards that goal to bring and repatriate excellent scientists, Greek scientists, that have experience in technology capitals of the world. And Titan is a part of that, the companies, and I need to congratulate you on that. Going back to Mrs. Wardoupi, some final remarks?
Yes, I would like to say that for sure the energy transition has so many issues to solve. That's a fact. But let's be optimistic. I like the word that you used.
Good.
Because we have a European Union mandate. We have the support of Greek state. So we have technical solutions. We have so many options. What we need to do is actually to join forces, cover from financing a project up to the final solution, and all together make it happen. That is my final remark.
Get things done. Κύριε Διακίδη.
Εγώ θα επιμείνω στα ελληνικά.
Στα ελληνικά να επιμείνετε. Και εμείς εκεί θέλουμε να επιμείνουμε.
Πραγματικά θεωρώ ότι είμαστε στην αρχή ενός πάρα πολύ ενδιαφέροντος ταξιδιού. Εμείς ειδικά εκεί πάνω, στη Δυτική Μακεδονία, ξέρετε, πάρθηκε μια απόφαση πολύ σωστά της απολιγνητοποίησης. Οπότε είναι η μεγάλη ευκαιρία και η μεγάλη πρόκληση. Και θεωρώ ότι είναι τύχη, προέκυψε βέβαια από πολλή δουλειά, τα δύο πρώτα project του IPCEI να γίνουν στη Δυτική Μακεδονία. Θα δώσουν νέα δυναμική, νέα πνοή. Θα έρθει κόσμος να δουλέψει. Στη δικιά μας την εταιρεία προσκλήθηκαν και ήρθαν μηχανικοί από την Κρήτη, δύο μηχανολόγοι μηχανικοί που στελέχωσαν την εταιρεία μας και δύο επιστήμονες μεταπτυχιακοί των Photonics που ήδη δουλεύουν. Θεωρώ ότι η Δυτική Μακεδονία, μια και έχει και αυτή τη τύχη και την ιδιαιτερότητα, θα ήταν πρέπον να συνεχίσει να θεωρείται η πράσινη κοιλάδα ή η κοιλάδα του υδρογόνου, με όλο το σεβασμό στην Κρήτη.
Έχουμε μία πράσινη κοιλάδα και ένα πράσινο νησί.
Ναι, είναι διαφορετικό το...
Έτσι.
Synergies.
Ακριβώς.
Καταρχήν έχουμε πολύ μεγάλη θέληση.
Ο καθένας έχει το ρόλο του σε αυτήν την αλυσίδα.
Θα ήθελα να βάλω, δεν είμαι ο ειδικός, αλλά θα ήθελα να βάλω το εξής προβληματισμό. Ακούω για συστήματα αποθήκευσης ή για προγράμματα και για χρηματοδοτικά προγράμματα για αποθήκευση και μάλλον όλα αυτά αναφέρονται σε μπαταρίες και η αποθήκευση του υδρογόνου είναι ιδιαίτερης μορφής αποθήκευση ενέργειας. Δεν ξέρω, ίσως και πρόταση, να μπει μέσα σε αυτά τα προγράμματα και η αποθήκευση του υδρογόνου.
Ωραία.
Αυτά.
Καταρχήν, όταν θα υπάρξει διαβούλευση, είστε όλοι ευπρόσδεκτοι να συνεισφέρετε με το input σας και το feedback σας. Και πάνω στο θέμα της αποθήκευσης, έχουμε και εκεί ένα πολύ ωραίο success story, που είναι μία μονάδα, η Sunlight, στην Θράκη, η οποία ενώ μπήκε ελληνικά, που λέμε, την τελευταία στιγμή και είχαμε ακούσει αντιδράσεις από τους Ευρωπαίους, πάλι οι Έλληνες ήρθαν την τελευταία στιγμή, η συγκεκριμένη εταιρεία συνέχισε, ενώ άλλοι που φαινόντουσαν πιο well-positioned δεν έμειναν μέχρι το τέλος του ταξιδιού. Οπότε πρέπει όλα αυτά να τα αναδεικνύουμε, γιατί η μία επιτυχία φέρνει την άλλη.
Πάντως, αν θέλω λίγο να προσθέσουμε σε αυτό που λέει ο κ. Στριγιακίδης, όντως είναι αυτό που είπε και ο κ. Στοματάκης, ότι υπάρχουν οι επιλογές της αποθήκευσης και το υδρογόνο είναι μία από αυτές. Απλά είναι αυτό το πώς να υπάρχουν τεχνικά, να γίνονται εφαρμόσιμες και να κοστίζουν χαμηλά.
Θα πάω στον κύριο, ευχαριστώ. Θα πάω στον κύριο Κασαπίδη. Έχετε ακούσει τη λέξη Δυτική Μακεδονία, κύριε Κασαπίδη, τουλάχιστον 200 φορές σήμερα σε αυτό το πάνελ.
Είναι στημένο το παιχνίδι.
Είναι μοιρασμένο το παιχνίδι. Δυτική Μακεδονία και Κρήτη βλέπω.
Και πάντα είχαν σχέση.
Και χαίρομαι ειλικρινά που ακούγεται η Δυτική Μακεδονία για ευχάριστες ειδήσεις και εξελίξεις, γιατί το προηγούμενο διάστημα ήμασταν συνδεδεμένοι με κάτι όχι τόσο ευχάριστο και μάλιστα κατά τη διάρκεια της προετοιμασίας αυτού του συνεδρίου με τους διοργανωτές μιλήσαμε και είπαμε μήπως μπορέσουμε να κάνουμε το επόμενο συνέδριο εδώ στη Δυτική Μακεδονία και να συνδέσουμε τις δύο περιφέρειες με έναν ισχυρό δεσμό αυτών των πράσινων ενεργειακών τεχνολογιών που θέλουμε και οι δύο περιφέρειες να παίξουμε ένα πρωταγωνιστικό ρόλο και να δώσουμε αυτή την προοπτική στις τοπικές οικονομίες, βοηθώντας πάρα πολύ την πατρίδα μας. Και η Κρήτη έχει πολλά πλεονεκτήματα και η Δυτική Μακεδονία έχει τα δικά της. Έχουμε και ισχυρούς ιστορικούς δεσμούς, γιατί πολλοί Κρήτες έπεσαν εδώ μαχόμενοι για την ελευθερία της Μακεδονίας κατά τη διάρκεια του Μακεδονικού πολέμου.
Και Κύπροι, κύριε Κασαπίδη, και Κύπροι έχουν πέσει.
Και Κύπροι, σαφώς, ναι. Οπότε, εγώ θα ήθελα να θέσω την πρόσκληση για το επόμενο αυτό συνέδριο, αμέσως μετά το καλοκαίρι, αναλαμβάνουμε εμείς να φιλοξενήσουμε και να υποστηρίξουμε τη διοργάνωσή του, να δούμε πώς τρέχουν οι εξελίξεις που τρέχουν ραγδαία αυτή την περίοδο στον ενεργειακό τομέα. Η Ευρώπη βλέπουμε ότι στηρίζει πάρα πολύ ισχυρά, ειδικά το πράσινο υδρογόνο. Θα έχουμε ξεκινήσει ήδη εδώ κάποιες εφαρμογές σε συνεργασία με το Πανεπιστήμιο και το ΕΚΕΤΑ στη Δυτική Μακεδονία και θέλουμε αυτό να συμπαρασύρει όλες τις περιφέρειες και την Ελλάδα μπροστά, ψηλά, σε ένα ρόλο πρωταγωνιστικό για να μπορέσουμε να φέρουμε πίσω όλους αυτούς τους επιστήμονες που ακούσαμε και σήμερα να μιλάνε από άλλες χώρες του εξωτερικού, να βρουν δουλειά εδώ στην πατρίδα μας και να μεταφέρουν αυτή τη δυναμική και αυτή την γνώση την επιστημονική προς όφελος της Ελλάδας μας. Άρα, αν ενώσουμε δυνάμεις εδώ, που είμαι πεπισμένος ότι αυτό είναι και η επιθυμία και ευχή όλων, έχουμε πολύ θετικά αποτελέσματα. Να ευχαριστήσω, κλείνοντας, αν μου επιτρέπετε, τον κύριο Στούμπο και τον κύριο Σταματάκη, που ήταν οι μέντορες μου, μπορώ να πω, στο πράσινο υδρογόνο. Από αυτούς ήρθα σε επαφή πιο κοντά με τον πυρήνα των εξελίξεων της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης πριν από πολλά χρόνια, και από τότε είδα αυτό που σήμερα γίνεται πραγματικότητα, χωρίς τότε οι περισσότεροι να πιστεύουν ότι αυτή η τεχνολογία μπορούσε να έρθει το 2022 στην Ελλάδα. Όλοι λέγανε ότι μετά το 2040, το 2050 έχουμε τις εφαρμογές. Όμως οι εξελίξεις μας εκπλήσουν θετικά όλους και θα έχουμε θετικά αποτελέσματα σίγουρα στη Δυτική Μακεδονία. Ο κ. Κυριακίδης είναι μια επιχείρηση στα 5 χιλιόμετρα από τα σύνορα. Το έχουμε ανάγκη να γίνονται τέτοιες επενδύσεις προηγμένης τεχνολογίας.
Ακριτική επιτυχία.
Ακριβώς η Advent που έρχεται στη Δυτική Μακεδονία με μια επένδυση της τάξης των 800 εκατομμύριων ευρώ, ίσως να είναι από τις μεγαλύτερες στην Ελλάδα, και κομίζει τεχνολογία εχμής που αυτή τη στιγμή δεν υπάρχει σε πρακτικό επίπεδο παραγωγικό στην πατρίδα μας. Καταλαβαίνετε λοιπόν ότι ο κύβος ερήφθη για πολλές θετικές εξελίξεις και ο Λευκός Δράκος, με μια αναθεώρησή του στο επόμενο κύμα της αξιολόγησης, πιστεύω ότι θα ολοκληρώσουμε όλη αυτή την προσπάθεια με μεγάλη επιτυχία, ικανοποιώντας τις προσδοκίες και τις επιθυμίες όλων όσων πιστεύουμε σε αυτή την προοπτική.
Ευχαριστώ, κύριε Περιφερειάρχα. Ο Μάνος είναι λίγο μικρός για να το πούμε founding father. Τώρα θα πάω στην κυρία Δέδη. Είστε αυτή τη στιγμή μέρος του brain drain. Θα δούμε το brain drain να μετατρέπεται σε brain gain. Θα σας έχουμε στην Ελλάδα.
Το ελπίζουμε βασικά, γιατί δεν είμαι μόνη μου. Μπορεί να έχετε ακούσει και για το Greek Energy Forum, που έχουμε την έδρα μας στο Λονδίνο, αλλά και στις Βρυξέλλες και σε άλλες χώρες του κόσμου. Και ουσιαστικά είναι πάρα πολλά παιδιά αυτή τη στιγμή που δουλεύουν όχι μόνο στο υδρογόνο, σε όλες αυτές τις low carbon technologies που μιλάμε σήμερα, και έχουν απίστευτο experience και προσφέρουν όλο το knowledge που έχουν και το know-how σε ξένες εταιρείες και σε άλλες χώρες. Οπότε νομίζω ότι είναι στα χέρια της Ελλάδας και των εταιριών στην Ελλάδα και των κυβερνήσεων και της κυβέρνησης στην Ελλάδα για να φέρει πίσω αυτούς τους επιστήμονες, και ελπίζω να γίνει κάποια στιγμή, γιατί και εμείς θα το θέλαμε πάρα πολύ. Εάν μπορώ να προσθέσω 2 points, if I may, just as concluding remarks, ναι. Επειδή μιλήσαμε για optimism, και όντως πρέπει να υπάρχει το optimism για το hydrogen deployment. We need at the same time to be realistic. If I can say that, and it doesn't mean that I'm not optimistic, right? But hydrogen is going to play a role in today's energy transition, but we need to keep in our mind that it's not going to be the silver bullet for everything. Really, we need to prioritize those sectors where hydrogen makes technical and commercial sense. And there is a reason I'm saying that, because from the experience I have working for other companies, I can see that most of the times people, organizations or corporations invest in sectors where actually hydrogen does not really make any sense, or does not really give the advantages that it would give if it was applied in other sectors. And the second point I would like to mention is about support, the policy support. Because we talked about it earlier today and the other panelists mentioned it. And of course, policy support is key. But it happened a few days ago. I came across a quote from Christine Lagarde, and she was saying actually that there is no such thing as a perfect decision in policy making. Which is true, right? And we can see how policies change over the time. But if we are really believing in what we are saying today, that there is an urgency of this clean energy transition and in having a hydrogen economy, really we need to go beyond that. We cannot really say that, there is no perfect policy making. Governments need to really, and including the Greek government, and I know that there have been really significant efforts at the moment, and as Mr. Kasapidis mentioned before, there were all these rumors that, for example, this technology in Greece will come in a couple of decades, but actually it happened much earlier. But still, there is a need to come up with really clear and coherent policies. And at the moment, there is a big confusion that creates frustration among the industry players. And there needs to be a better alignment between governments, government policies, and industry.
Well, I need to, okay, thank you. Both points are taken. I have to say that we did proudly. We did things that for other countries it took like 5 years, and we did it in like 1 or 1.5. So we need to recognize this, and we are not Superman or Superwomen, but we are working on that.
No, but I know that we can do much better. That's
yes,
why.
That's why
I'm not criticizing.
That's why maybe you need to return to Greece as well, right? So I'll go now to Mr. Kokarakis for his final remarks, and then I will go to Mr. Hatzimarkakis, who made it. And
don't forget
let's go
Thanos,
Mr. Kokarakis first.
Thank you very much. Allow me to say my 2 pennies of wisdom. My point with the electrolysis of seawater actually had to do with dropping down a major stumbling block, which could be viewed like our major problem in creating an ocean-going vessel is not the technology to utilize hydrogen. We have fuel cells, we have internal combustion engines, but we need a lot of hydrogen. So if we produce the hydrogen and we use it at the same time, there is no need for storage, and this is a key point. The other thing that I noticed today in this nice meeting and very useful conference is the cross-pollination of knowledge. We cannot rediscover the mercury. We can cross-pollinate the knowledge, take what other sectors have done, and I would like to mention an example regarding storage. The chemists play with Legos. Their Legos are called metal organic frameworks. These are very porous compounds. 1 gram of them has a surface area of 1 football field. What they are metals connected with organic ligands, and they are elements that evidently can store large quantities of not only hydrogen, but gases in general. So it's a different sector. Why not look into it? I've heard a very valid comment about cheap electricity for hydrogen production. I will close my comments by saying, why not nuclear energy? We can utilize cheap nuclear energy.
Pink hydrogen.
Nuclear energy can be safe. It is not only Fukushima and Chernobyl. There are molten salt reactors that are pretty much safe, and they can be utilized to create hydrogen.
Thank you. I visited Fukushima in 2014. Perhaps I'm radioactive. No. But I'm telling you that the issue with Fukushima was not a technology issue, but it was a mechanical issue of the generator. And then, of course, there were so many countries rejecting projects, new projects, and so on. We are very glad to have Mr. Hatzimarkakis. Yorgo, you missed an amazing panel. I invite you to go back and watch every minute, because you will know exactly what's happening in Greece a year after. Last year, the topic was hydrogen, the starting point, hydrogen, the Swiss Army knife of decarbonization, many projects that will come online, and this enthusiasm. This year, the topic is the survivors, and we see things moving ahead, and of course with your help in Hydrogen Europe, and your support, we managed to put on the map the first two Greek projects in the first wave, the H2 Tech wave. We have the second wave coming in September. We will notify, hopefully, the next two projects. And then we have the third wave and the fourth wave, where we still have Greek projects and very interesting Greek projects. I invite you to give us like a snapshot of what's happening right now in Europe, because you are very enthusiastic. Many things happen on a European scale because of your passion. So the floor is yours.
Many thanks, and my congrats to this panel. I definitely will take a look at the recording, and also my thanks to the invitation. Given the fact that you are already in the midst of the discussion, I would leave the slides. I would really concentrate on giving some highlights in an oral manner. And yes. To start with, it's exactly, Konstantin, as you say, Greece is on the map of hydrogen, not to be expected 2 years ago, quite in question mark 1 year ago. This year, we can clearly say that Greece is one of the major elements.
I think we need to... Good to hear that.
That's good to hear, and that there are some drivers for this. One is definitely yourself, because you have helped Konstantin in the ministry to push things. So today you're the moderator, but all over this process you played a fundamental role, and we have to be, as the hydrogen sector, also grateful for that. Another important factor is Yorgos Kasapidis as the governor of Western Macedonia. Without his insisting and sometimes also annoying passion and patience, it wouldn't have been possible. He was the one who really delivered with his region basically a blueprint of why Greece needs to be in and what can be done. I admit that I would always love to see more courageous steps by any government. So to set this clear from the very beginning, we know that the first IPCI project in Greece, or stemming from Greece, will be green lighted very, very soon. This is out of question. This big project, White Dragon, in the timeline has gone a little bit further into the future, but is still heavily on the table, and this is important. It needs some fine-tuning, but this will be done, and this is my most important message possibly for today, that despite any rumors that you can hear in Greece, this is a very, very important project. I will explain why, and I will give a snapshot of the current situation. Basically, the role of hydrogen, which was already core and center of the energy transition with the pandemic and with the hydrogen strategy, Vice President Timmermans says it every day. It's the rock star of the energy transition, it's core and center. But with the war in Ukraine, with the Russian invasion into Ukraine, this has changed dramatically, because hydrogen and its derivatives has brutally stepped into the scene as not the rock star, but the one that delivers the volume for the replacement. We need to replace, and that's clear, the dependency on Russian gas by something else. And the Commission has decided that 1/4, so 25% of the whole volume of Russian gas into EU will be replaced by hydrogen until 2030. And of course, that's 20 million tons of, they say, renewably produced hydrogen. But I will pick up what I just heard in the discussion. We have the impression that it might be a mix of renewable and clean hydrogen, among others stemming from nuclear. This is out of question that we will see also a nuclear dimension, which has the same boosting effect for the electrolyzers, because still we need to split water with electricity stemming from nuclear in this case. But I have to make one very important distinction. Whereas with the renewables, we talk about the principle of additionality. We need to add renewable infrastructure, renewable energy sources. This is out of question and will be done. In the case of nuclear, we as Hydrogen Europe would not ask for new nuclear installations, but what we would ask is to use as much as existing nuclear to be decommissioned for the hydrogen production right now. To give you one very simple example, Ukraine itself. Ukraine started as of last week to deliver current, electricity, to its neighbors, to Romania and to Slovakia. And well, they export energy. And you can bet or you can guess where it comes from. It comes from the nuclear power plants. And we know that the hydrogen strategy prepared for Ukraine will contain exactly that, a mix of renewables, daylight photovoltaic, and the night shift will be taken over by nuclear. In order to make hydrogen cheap, 24/7, you need electrolyzers to be running all the time. And this is what happens right now. And I have had a look at the last amendments of the European Parliament on Renewable Energy Directive 2, and also the latest developments on the European level. It seems that the targets that we have, the big targets, the 20 million tons, based on a 50% target for industrial hydrogen, so chemical industry, but also steel industry in the future, they need to replace grey by green, and that we might be entitled to fill up this by clean hydrogen. And clean means that you cannot produce more than 1 kilo per kilo of hydrogen on CO2, and nuclear obviously will get into this category. Another good news, and because I see you have a question, another good news is that it seems that also the other target we have in the renewable fuels of non-biological origin, we have the target of 5% until 2030. So out of all fuels in 2030, 5% need to be based on hydrogen. And this had been watered down by the member states the other week, but the European Parliament in its latest compromise from yesterday keeps it up. So we are very confident that we will land there. So we have clear targets, and I add, these targets might be added up by clean instead of having only renewable. The bottleneck here is also the renewable infrastructure, to be honest. We need to scale it up, but it's difficult because steel prices go up. We have interruption of supply chains. We have also some difficulties in photovoltaic. So it will be a mix that's absolutely clear to be seen now. And here's exactly the role also of Greece to focus very much on the renewable part. But Konstantin, I think you had a question or a comment.
No, I would say that you lost the part when we discussed that we split it, the pie. Half of the pie goes to Western Macedonia as the valley of hydrogen, and the other half goes to Crete as the hydrogen island. Since you are a Cretan, what's your vision for Crete?
My vision for Crete has to do basically with the role of Greece as a hub for hydrogen that comes from the Middle East, and also North Africa.
Yeah.
So Crete will develop as one of the main hubs here. It's out of question that the European Commission is preparing at the moment something which is called the Green Mediterranean Hydrogen Partnership. And this is absolutely important because it will foresee not only retrofitting of existing pipelines in the western part of the Mediterranean, so Morocco to Spain, but also Tunisia, Algeria to Spain, and Algeria to Italy. There will be a new pipeline, the Galzi project for the ones who know, and also retrofitting Tunisian pipelines via Sicily to Italy. And in the eastern part, at the moment we have nothing. And the Commission looks much more than the Greek government, I have to say, because the Greek government has been quiet lately into the East Med project. Super important because it will be the most critical issue to transport the renewable hydrogen and its derivatives cheaply. In the transition time, and here comes the role of Crete, we will use definitely ammonia. I'll give you an example, green ammonia. I met last week with the CEO of the biggest consumer of hydrogen in the world. which is the chemical company of BASF in Ludwigshafen in Germany. BASF was the reason why the Germans insisted on Nord Stream 2. They wanted to have cheap access to natural gas, not because of heating and because they wanted to use it in the energy sector, but mainly as a chemical feedstock. And most of the product they need at the moment, I talked to him, is ammonia. So to really replace the big dependency that BASF and that the Germans have to Russia, they need green ammonia very, very fast. And here, Greece and Crete can play, first of all, the role of also a production center. We can produce cheaply renewable energy and hence hydrogen and hence green ammonia, and we can cheaply ship it. That's the point where Greece and some Cretan ship owners also have, I think, a role to play to retrofit from now on the existing fleet versus ammonia. We will need much more ships that can bring the ammonia basically to Trieste. There's a direct connection from Trieste to Ludwigshafen, or to go the long way around to Rotterdam and to North Sea ports that I visited yesterday only, where you can then ship with barges via the Rhine. This is all crucial, and this is all crucial quite urgently. Much more than in Greece, the Germans face immediately the shutdown from Russian gas, and if BASF has to stop 14 days, we might have problems with our bread, because yeast is based on these processes that come from Ludwigshafen, which is the mother of all chemical companies all over Europe. So this is why we have an eye on that. I will have a meeting with the German Vice Chancellor on Thursday to discuss how we can do this. And here we need Cretan ship owners, and not only, and Crete as a main hub to drive these processes. And I'm very, very confident that we will land there. Of course, in Crete, on the island itself, it goes without saying that some first uses, especially we don't have industry there, but in tourism, so rental cars, why not? To have rental cars based on hydrogen. And of course, the bus fleet can be replaced easily and can be replaced fast because the applications are there. And also here, we are waiting for the island that wants to play the role model. Ibiza, which could have played this, not there yet. Crete could be there much earlier than others. And of course, I will be in the summer back in my home island, and I will try to drive this process further.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to ask you. When are you coming exactly? And are you driving to Crete?
Yeah. Not decided yet, but normally I will be there the whole month of August.
The question was if you are ready to drive your hydrogen car to Crete.
I could do so. I could go until Trento in Italy to fuel it there last time, and then bring it to Venice.
And then bring it to Demokritos.
And then, I could bring it to Demokritos or directly to Crete, and then use it for the few kilometers that I will still have. But honestly, this is something we might see and live next year. The first fueling stations are planned for Greece, and it's time. It's time, and it will be done. And I'm very confident.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us, Yorgo. I would like to invite you now here to give a very warm applause to our panelists.
Thanos. You missed Thanos.
Up. I missed Thanos, the founding father, and I want his remarks, his final remarks. Apologies. Thano, are you with us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was very good to listen to Yorgo Hadjimarkakis. He's Cretan, as everybody knows, anyway. And I thank him for the good news and for the nice overview of what's going on right now in Europe. I will just mention one thing. The main issue is, and we all try for that, is to start creating the hydrogen market in Greece and in Europe in general. And many things were said and heard, all the different parameters, the legal framework, the funding, the pilot projects, flagship projects, the need of the various stakeholders for synergies and so on. Everything was mentioned, except one thing which is not so technological anymore, and I would like to put it on the table as well. It is very, very important, as Yorgo knows as well, that we will look at the so-called public awareness issue. It is important to have the people with us, okay, in anything we do regarding this energy transition, and of course regarding hydrogen deployment of hydrogen technologies. And it is extremely important to inform in a convincing and in a serious way the public on that. And an important parameter there, and allow me to say that, Costa, maybe some people will not agree with that, is that we have to think in a different way, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because the problems we are facing, and these problems make the energy transition a necessity, okay, are such problems for the first time perhaps in history of humanity, that we cannot say, oh, we don't have any technologies that are good enough or cheap enough or whatever, so we can stay with the business as usual and we continue as we are today. This is not an option anymore. And this is the first time that humanity faces that. And let's not be us. We heard about fathers and grandfathers today. Let's not be us who will be answering the questions of our sons and daughters and our children and grandchildren, saying that if they ask, for example, why it didn't happen at that time, in time, this energy transition successfully, and we might reply to them, oh yeah, sorry, the technology, the hydrogen was not produced, green hydrogen could not be produced at €1 per kilogram, but it was at 2.5, and then it was abandoned. This is not an answer we can give to our grandchildren, you know, some years later, those of us who will be here. And this must be understood by everyone, that the criteria that we usually use techno-economically, and we are used to employ those criteria for the successive introduction of new technology and so on, have to be rethought, if I use the right term here. We have to rethink them in view of the current reality, which is much, much different than anything the humanity has faced so far. And with this, I would like to close and thank everybody again for a very, very interesting meeting.
Allow me to end with this phrase, which was said by a former president, I think, of OPEC. The Stone Age didn't finish because we were out of stones, right?
Yep.
Okay, with that, that's the time that we give the warm applause to our panelists. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for attending. See you next year. And we're out.